Hello, welcome to episode 3 of Storytelling on Orchard Street. We're in the podcast studios of P&T Knitwear Bookstore on Orchard Street, New York City, Manhattan. My guest today is Pauline Findlay. Pauline is a poet and filmmaker of shorts, poetry, and motion. Her new collection, Dysfunction, a play on words and the familiar, is released by Pink Trees Press. If you listened to the episode previous with Linda, she was very nice to give you plenty of props. Her work has appeared in Brownstone Poets Anthology and Silver-Tongued Deviled Anthology. She has been a judge for the Poetry Matters Project and toured in Augustus, Georgia. Her captivating performances have been seen at the Rhymes of the Ancient Mariners shows, Fahrenheit series, Women of Color series, and poetry festivals. Welcome, Pauline.
Hi,
and if you would, please read one of your great poems.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Well, I'm not really known as the love poet, right? But I will do one that my daughter asked me to write.
Nice.
Poet. So I figured I might as well try it.
Yes.
Okay. Sweet D'Artagnan, love me until the day of Armageddon, beyond ripened honeysuckles and dust granules, beyond enmity and equanimity, beyond pestilence and desolation. Insulate my heart with the arched branches of a weeping willow, concaved and concealed in the bosom of your trunk. Let us be the supernovas of the Milky Way, spiraling into our own sphere, creating a luminescence, equivocal evolution, inexplicable to matter, equations, or theory. Remind me of love when all is nocturnal awakens. Sieve my insecurities and sacred thoughts. Make me whole to the fullness of the harvest moon. Stand before God, avowing your love for me. Sit in the nape of a cartle and croon into his ear an anthem of splendor. Take the adaptation of my lyrics and make it what you'll live by. Open me to the moisture rivers that run beyond mountains and vapored air as you embrace all that is yours. Love me as the sun sets and night cries her arrival song until the day of Armageddon, when we will be no more.
Awesome. Yeah. So we have a lot to talk about.
Okay.
Because you're a woman of many talents. Before we do go into talking about your creative projects, just kind of like, I don't know you that well. I've met all you folks pretty recently. We don't always get to talk that much at the events we go to. So just tell me a little bit about your background. Were you born in Trinidad?
Yes, I was born in Trinidad.
When did you move here?
I migrated here with my mother and father at the age of 2.
Okay, so you know more of this than Trinidad.
I know a lot about Trinidad. I mean,
Yeah.
we've gone back every other year. My mother used to take us back,
Okay.
and we stayed there
You got
for
family
periods
still?
of time. Yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
Right.
I have a huge family.
Right.
Shout out to Trinidad. But I grew up in different parts. I was in Bedford-Stuyvesant. I was Brownsville mostly.
Okay. Right.
But we moved a little bit, quite a bit. But
Have you lived anywhere else in this country, or you moved directly to Brooklyn?
no, directly to Brooklyn.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, there's a definitely big Caribbean population in Brooklyn.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Did you go to the parade?
I didn't go this year. You
No.
know, my father, Clyde Bascom, is an artist.
Okay.
And he used to make a lot of the costumes. This year he's off, but
Wow.
he makes a lot of them in Trinidad, and he also makes a lot of them
great.
here. So if you see his art, it's phenomenal. You will
Okay.
not believe. And
So
it will
you're gonna
be,
have to show me photos at some point.
absolutely. I have a couple with me,
Oh,
believe
okay.
it or not, that I brought with me, and he'll have some art actually at my theater, my book launch. So
Right.
people will be able to
Wow.
witness some of it.
Well, I can see there's a lot of art in what you do.
Yeah.
And I feel when I read your poetry, there's definitely that culture's in there, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So we talked just briefly for a second before we came in here about food. So so we connect on a couple of things.
Okay.
And I know you're a chef. I read it in your bio.
Anateca Maria.
Right. So tell me about that.
Okay, so
You said you're cooking up family secrets from Trinidad.
okay, yes. So my mother and her sisters, a lot of them, they are excellent cooks.
Okay.
And so my mother had a catering company called Tanae's Catering. But, you know, over the time, when she would cook, I would always try to go in and find little things that I can do,
Right,
and tweak it and make it my own.
right.
But Enoteca Maria happened from a mom I was working with.
I mean, this is a restaurant.
This is an actual restaurant
Where?
in Staten Island.
Oh, Staten Island. I
And
saw that.
It's 27 Hyatt Street.
Okay.
Jody Scavella
Okay.
owns an Italian restaurant, but what he did was make something very unique. He has 2 kitchens, and so he decided that he would bring in nonas from around the world, right? And
Known as in
grandmothers.
grandmothers. Right?
Yes, and they
I
would,
had a teacher at culinary school who did a series called I forgot what she called it, but she would go visit grandmothers in different cultures and learn from them. So it's a great way to learn.
yes, and so when he asked, you know,
Because you can't find that kind of stuff in a book.
you can't. And
Right.
so Mom Lindsay McGinnis, she actually made phone call for me because I didn't even know. And next thing I know, I had an interview. And she's, you know, because my nickname is Bunny, so everybody's like, hey, Bun. She's
Right.
like, Bun, go down here. And I was hired, and the next thing I know, I have this great other family now that's at the restaurant, and they allow me to express all my family recipes, and I have
Right.
these great...
Is this like a pop-up thing? Like it's not like a
No,
daily thing?
he's been around for...
No, I mean you're part like you're not a full-time chef, are you?
No,
Right.
but I'm there in rotation with
Right.
a lot of the other nonas, and so
Okay.
I'm there probably every 6 to 8 weeks.
Nice.
And like I'll be there
So tell me
September
some of the things you
24th.
would cook. Give me some
Bacon
examples.
soulfish is one of my best sellers.
Uh-huh.
I have pylori. I make my own tamarind sauce. But my best seller for some
Tell
reason...
people that the people might not know what pylori is.
Pylori is... Codfish cakes is made with a salted cod.
Cod, yeah.
And right. And
Italians use that too.
Yeah, exactly.
You soak it in milk.
Yeah. And, you know, we make these batters, and so pylori is another kind of batter that you would make,
Right.
and so you have the difference between one has fish in it and one is more flour based, and so you can have mango chutney dressed on
Nice.
it, and tamarind sauce, and a
Right.
lot of other
So
different
there's
things.
an
Hot
Indian
sauce, peppers,
influence.
a little bit, but you know, we have so many things. We have roti and curries
Right.
and different things like that. But honestly, my bestseller, believe it or not, is oxtail.
Okay.
I have
I've
this.
never had oxtail, believe it or not.
I will make you some stewed
Okay.
oxtail.
Well, yeah. Well, we're gonna have to talk more about this.
Yes,
And
another time.
You're gonna have to keep me posted on when you're there. Next.
Yeah, I'll be there actually September 24th.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can make that date, but we'll keep
Well,
in
we'll
touch
keep
with
in
this.
touch, all right.
We could spend 30 minutes talking about food,
I
but
know,
that's not why you're here.
Literally.
So tell me about your process. So this is your first book, right?
This actually is my second collection.
Oh, it is. I didn't
But
know.
the first collection was called Mirror Images, and I just wanted to take a chance and see if I could publish it myself.
Right.
And I didn't really understand fully a lot of things as far as the business is concerned, but I just wanted to see what that process was. Some people bought it, you know,
Right.
the thing is, but this second collection is definitely a hard hitter. And
You spent
I
a
knew
lot of time on that book.
I
didn't you?
spent a lot of time.
Because my book is more like rapid fire kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like I wrote it on my phone.
Mhm.
I do go back over this stuff, but the idea was I wrote it on the phone and I would post it online. I didn't know I would actually make a book out of it. So and I don't have the attention span to really like. I read what you wrote and I was like, oh my God, she must have spent so much time on each one of those.
I spent
They're
about,
like stories. They're like, well, we're going to talk about this later
Okay.
too. They're like little. So when I read it, I see a lot of images.
yes.
And then when you read it, it's even more come to life. And then we'll talk about this later. But the videos, oh my God, I couldn't believe how great the videos. And then they're really like the videos really hit home. They really really tell the story
Yeah.
of your poetry.
Yeah. I love film a lot, and I've always wished I could be a filmmaker,
Right.
uh, but I didn't have the background in film, and so what started to happen with this collection is as I would perform certain things, people are like, oh my gosh, it's so difficult, it's so dense, and I just kept
There's so much to it. There's a very
so much to it,
right.
and I just kept thinking, what's another creative way that I can bring my loves together? And so I decided to take a chance on myself, and I financed everything. I came up with all the images myself, and Tara Hicks helped me get clearance for certain things, and I would rent out a whole carousel, and some people, everybody would just, Phil Giambri, everybody, Linda Kleinbach, a lot of people would just volunteer and
Right.
say, I'll play a character.
Right.
And I'm like, really? You would do that for me? And they believe so much in the work that they would donate their time.
They're really intense.
And my father is always like right in the back, and my sister does my hair and all my wigs.
There's so much to it. I honestly, when you said you had, when I read your bio, I was, you're on, I'm going to check it out. You're on YouTube. And I didn't think I was going to see what I saw. I mean, they're real productions. Yeah. They're real movies. Really.
Yeah, they're real movies.
They're great. The makeup and so when I watch it, I see so much, and it's so much, and when I read your poetry, there's so much going on. What's funny to me is you're a very bright and positive person. That's the
I try to stay that way.
No, that's what I get from you. Like I notice we're Facebook friends, and I notice you're the first one to cheer other people.
Yeah.
And that's how you are when I see you. Mm-hmm. But your writing is really intense. Sometimes very dark.
The thing is that let's for instance, I have a poem in here called Eulogy, mm-hmm. right? And I thought about it. I really took time and I thought about it, and it's about, how we always see the stories on the news about children that are abused.
Right.
I kept thinking, you always hear about sometimes what happens to the parents, but I kept thinking, if the child had the say, what would the child really say if they could say it in a way that adults would understand it, not necessarily just in the language of a child, but how would that feel? And I literally waited, and I would try to feel everything and have empathy for a death of a child and put it in those words. Right. And so it would sit with me, and I would wait for that child to really speak to me in my mind.
So our writing style is very different. And like I said, I'm more of I consider myself, I'm not saying my writing is punk rock, but I come from being in bands and sometimes punk or rock, and so things are supposed to be simple. And that's kind of like, I'm not like Linda's studied poetry. Mm-hmm. So I write in a simple-ish style.
I wouldn't say that. I've read a lot of your work.
Okay.
It's great.
All right. Well, thanks. But I mean is what I try to do is tell a story, mm-hmm. and I try to be very empathetic about what other people are going through, because I can relate to it. Like you should be able to relate to other people's struggles. I think I remember the one you're talking about. It's a very difficult subject, but it's important.
It's important because it just gets shuffled away sometimes, and you have to have empathy for everything.
Right. So I want to talk a little more about what I came from reading your poetry, but I would like you to read one more first. Okay. And then if you don't mind, I'll read one after you, and then we'll talk more. Okay. Okay. So Pauline's going to read another one from her great book.
Let's see. That's... Okay, this one is about America. Okay. I wrote it from the perspective of an immigrant, and sometimes how they've been treated in America.
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I get it. I really do.
Mythical, picturesque, disillusioned dreams of America. My back on which you mounted, stroking me with judicial, melodramatic balladry of hypocrisy. In God we trust, in greed we seek. 20th century modern-day slavery. A country whose greatest landmarks, monuments, and businesses were crafted by the bludgeoned hands of minorities. Now we turn on our televisions only to hear exquisite babble of debauched commentary and flagrant speeches from our most powerful political figures. reneged promises and shattered dreams. I trusted you. With an unwavering stare, you placed one hand on the Bible and the other in the air, and took an oath to uphold the laws of God and land, seducing us to believe in a land of opportunity, where all men are created equal. Galvanized by what you stood for, my quest began when I abandoned my birthplace, who treated me like a whore, and tossed me out into the night after being used for its pleasures. Some of us were yanked into this country forcefully, others willingly. Many stowed away in the backs of trucks, ships, swam across vast oceans, as others died inside car trunks. I ran to you, only to find out I am still an unwanted whore. It's funny what one will do when freedom is supposed to ring. Patriotic songs, white picket fences, land of the free, home of the brave. Take me out to the ball game, peanuts and popcorn. Oh, say, can you see? All bullshit of what the American dream is supposed to represent. But you continue to sodomize us by sadists who reap wealth and power. Come election season, you again have the audacity to ask me to eat from the same spoon of deception, wanting me to lie on my back and spread my legs as you fill my void with liquid prose of poetry, hoping that the euphoric state of seduction will recede my eyes to the back of my head, releasing a climactic scream of ecstasy to see iridescent colors of rainbows painted on raw canvases. Here's the problem, my love. Even a whore knows when to get out of the game. We're not typographical errors that you can conveniently obliterate and delete from history's text. We are willing to work for that from which you stole to build your great nation, albeit for me to notice the nefarious narcissist jargon spewed. Ghostly sounds of bells ringing from merchant ships selling live cargo still haunt the bay. Segregated cruelty of a nation's rapture rocked this universe. Darkened shades of red, white, and blue are continually revealing injustices and oppressions. It's all here to scorch the throats of those who spat on our civil liberties. From this chalice you will drink the antidote of truth. We are the products of your fortunes, industries, and infrastructures. Your sketchy foundations are cracking the walls of your magnificent towers. You can eradicate this problem by not asking us to leave, but band together to build a broken nation, by crying redemption for all races. Allow freedom to ring. Allow freedom to ring.
Wow, that's a lot going on in that one.
Yeah. It's a lot.
But you were here very young, so you were two, but have you experienced some of that
Yes.
in your own life
A lot.
as an immigrant?
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
Even though pretty much you were almost born here if you were here.
Yes,
To this
racism
day?
to this day.
Right.
I've experienced it on, different jobs, not necessarily with the people I work with, but I had an experience even up to about a year and a half ago. I'm walking down the street because, I take care of children as well. And I've had somebody literally yell at me and call me a slave.
Right. It makes me sad that this exists.
Yes.
And I feel like the
crazy.
climate, instead of being better, has gotten worse.
It has.
Yeah.
Which is so strange.
Right. And I'm not sure why.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's not fair.
I don't know what's going on. But the thing is what we don't understand with racism is none of us are going anywhere. Right? Let's just accept each other for who we are. We have different religious beliefs, which is fine.
Right.
Culturally, we eat different things.
But that's what makes life more interesting.
But we can still have some level of appreciation.
Right. I think it makes life more interesting. It's one of the reasons why I like living here. I don't want to just be with the same people that I grew up with. I came to Brooklyn to, not to get away from how I grew up, but to experience other things, other cultures. I've always loved it. The food, the music, And the thing is, if you like that, how can you not understand the people that bring that? And that happens a lot.
Exactly.
Like people will like an athlete and then not like who they are.
Who they are.
Right.
It's
Or,
insane.
or like somebody's music and then be racist. It's kind of fucking,
It's
sorry, it's kind of crazy.
really.
I didn't mean to curse. Do you mind if I read one?
Sure, please, definitely.
So, like I've mentioned this in past episodes, or previous episodes, 2 of which I've done so far today. I'm not an experienced writer, so I'm self-taught. But as I got into it, I felt like I got better. And then I have a friend who was the wife of somebody I worked with. I actually hired. He passed away very young, but we kept in touch. Actually, we got reacquainted on Facebook, and then she saw that I was writing poetry, and she had a poetry magazine, or it was actually multimedia.
Okay.
Sometimes art, videos, and music on the web magazine.
Oh.
And she asked me to contribute, and she would have a theme. And sometimes my poetry fit the theme. I would look through what I wrote,
Right.
and it would fit. This one was called Whispers, and I didn't have one written for that already, so I wrote one.
Oh, definitely. Sure.
The whispers told her she was pretty. She was a princess, mother's little helper, dancing ballerina, so fit and thin, with lovely porcelain white skin. Straight A student, captain of the team, fit right in at all costs. Prom queen, sorority sister, good girlfriend, dutiful wife, the best mom on her block, president of the PTA. The whispers didn't stop. She tried to drink them away. They got louder. She took some pills. The whispers turned to a scream. She was admitted, strapped down, and the whispers cried, and so did she. The whispers got louder and shouted she wasn't whom she was meant to be. No matter how hard she tried, she would never be.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know where that came from. You know, it's funny. I don't know if you experienced this, but sometimes I write something, I'm not really sure where it came from. You know?
I've had that experience once or twice, but I'm very, very intentional.
Okay.
I don't write what I don't believe.
Right. Well, I agree with that. I don't either.
I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't write like for the sake of writing. It has to mean something
Right.
to
I'll throw
me.
something out if it doesn't feel true.
Right. If
Right.
it doesn't, because
Right.
I know the language won't come, and I know it won't feel good
Right.
in my mouth, and so I don't do it.
I'll if I start something and it's not working, I'll get rid of it. Yeah. So this is what I get out of your book. Obviously, incredibly intense. A lot of religious symbolism.
Yes.
Sexuality, abuse, like you mentioned.
Abuse.
Struggles of the soul, redemption, human failings.
Elsie, yeah.
Zombies and angels.
Yeah.
Right? Is that it?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, because I have to stick with. I very much believe in God, and so I never would turn. No matter what I write, I never turn from that. And not only that, I believe that there's a balance to the dark. Like, so for me, it's always about.
You believe in God, but are you disappointed with some aspects of religion, or the religion you grew up with? Because
I'm
disappointed with the people that are.
I'm sometimes very disappointed because, unfortunately, you're going for a solace. You're going for peace. You're going to feel uplifted within a message, and then when you hear certain things that happen to children in religious sex and you just. It's heartbreaking.
But I hate to ask you because I don't know if this is too personal. So when I read it, it all feels like it's coming from you. But so did you have any of these experiences that are in your book, or
some of the experience are because if you notice, I always tell people a lot of my things are very self-introspection. It's a lot of me sitting, thinking of past experiences. Yes, and I've had. Issues with sexual abuse as well. But I also am very aware that it's a huge problem And a lot of women and young men experience this also as children.
Right.
But, how is it possible that you can pick up a Bible and you're going to church on Sunday and you're off in your fancy suit or whatever, and you just did something
Right.
to a child,
Uh-huh.
and then you want to tell people how to redeem themselves and end up in heaven? And I'm like, are you kidding?
Right. Right.
There have
Yes,
been
sir.
movies created by that, Doubt and some other things, and
Right.
so it's like, how many poems, how many movies, how many things can we keep talking about? And the problems a lot of times are not always rectified.
Right.
But I did see one time Oprah had a show
Uh-huh.
where it was mostly men in the audience, and I think Tyler Perry was there that day, and all these gentlemen were sexually abused, and some of them were from in religious settings.
Right.
Or priest or whatever.
Right.
And so
Sure.
it was very
Well, I was raised
heartbreaking.
Catholic, and that's
Mhm.
really prevalent in Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
Were you raised Catholic?
I was raised
Catholicism?
Catholic.
Yeah, I figure so, because it's definitely there in the poetry.
Yeah, I've always, but I always still have, but regardless of what I feel about humans, because humans are always going to be human, right? They're always going to do human things.
Right, and somebody in a church is still a human.
Exactly,
Right.
regardless of whether they say they're mimicking the laws in the Bible or in the God, and it's not always
Right.
true.
Because men fail no matter what they have.
No matter
you
what
can put
we
a
do.
robe on, or you could put a suit on, or you can
And
put,
it doesn't matter. You can
Right.
put on a collar and you can have millions of dollars or
Right.
a little church in the corner, and it won't matter. The truth of the matter is, your job is to make sure not only do you give the right message, but to be supportive in a community and help people believe something greater than themselves for a life we're living that's already very challenging.
Right.
So why add to that by coming out or hiding behind this cloak when a lot of people really know who you are? I think what's more disappointing to me is the follow through on what happens, and a lot of them are still allowed to preach and to have churches and to preach the gospel.
Mhm.
I have a problem with that, and
Right.
so I make it, and this is why it's all dysfunctional to
Well,
me, because
it's
where's
even
the
more
balance?
obviously. If this is the last place you want to see this. I mean, it's
Exactly,
one
it's
thing
supposed to be a safe haven.
Right, it's one thing if
Right.
a politician does it or a musician. That's disappointing, but somehow
It takes on a different connotation
right.
when it's
Right.
when it's
You're going
men of the cloth.
right, and you're going there to be spiritual.
Exactly, to be
and
spiritually enhanced.
right, not disappointed in
Exactly.
a big way, in a very very disappointing way.
Yeah.
So we talked earlier about it, but I had this at the end about your
Sure.
videos. So you have 3 short films on YouTube.
Yes, I have Living Her Life on Broken Wings. Men of the Holy Order was actually my first one.
And all of these are in the book
All of these are in the book.
as well.
Yes. And I have Wednesday, which is the first poem, and so it's more about being split apart.
Mhm.
So it's more about being split apart.
In what way?
You ever been in a relationship that has kind of gone wrong and it feels like you're losing your mind a little bit,
Sure.
or you're being used for sex in some kind of way, and so it's like Wednesday is the day that the young gentleman wants to sleep with her, and her
Okay,
name
I
is
know, yes.
and her name is Wednesday.
Okay, yeah.
And so I needed to play on those words, and
Right.
it becomes very convoluting.
Right. And there's a
And
carnival
then she
aspect.
split
to
is a
it.
carnival aspect because
Right.
it's all like one
Right.
big circus in her
Right.
mind, and
I love
so
that one.
yeah, and she
And the video's
splits
great.
apart. Yeah, it's a little graphic, but it's the colors, and it's amazing, and it's all the characters actually represent the way she's felt in her life, like a clown and a prostitute,
Right.
a drunkard, and she's not seen, and so she has all these split aparts, and I decided to bring all those characters with
Right.
me.
I hope that in your personal life, this is not happening to you. Now.
I don't split apart. My mind is
Okay.
thank God it's whole.
And you said earlier you're a mom.
Yes, I am.
Right.
My son Charles and my daughter Kaya.
And Charles working on the.
Yeah, Charles was in it. Charles was one of the drunken with my godson
Okay.
Avery. My daughter Kaya was, she kind of played like a broken Alice in Wonderland.
Right.
And one of the makeup artists wore the mask, and another artist, makeup artist, Shanice Martino, she was a clown. And so everybody, and Philip was there, and everybody just put in the best that they could. My father was just in shock. He was just like,
Right.
when are we doing this again?
Right.
Because it was just so over the top. And then,
Uh-huh.
I have the Justin Reed and all these wonderful photographers and Insay Abe, all these amazing, and the actress, there's, they're crazies, and my sister Vanessa and, Janelle, and it's just, if you look at it, you'll see that these ladies kind of convoluting their bodies and shaking and twisting, and it's just amazing.
I do.
Of everything that they bought.
People really need to see these videos.
I can't believe everything that they bought. They brought it all out of themselves, and I didn't have to do a whole lot to just.
Cool. Well, it's your story. I mean, your words coming to life. So this went really fast.
Okay.
But I would love you to read one more short one. Yeah. And then we'll say goodbye.
They're never short though.
I know. Well, the short. Well, just read one more. We can go past the time.
Let's see. I guess since we were sitting on the religious aspect, I will do Men of the Holy Order.
Okay, great.
I am a parable. I've kissed the serpents. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. They sit in righteous indignation, a paradox soaked in iniquity, the gross injustice to your name. We walked in as lambs to the slaughter, awaiting the endowment of biblical doctrine, uplifting hymns and praise dances we believed in safe havens, hoping to be escorted into nirvana by the shepherds to the flock. But the wolf charades around in a red cape. The ritual in Germinated says, break bread and eat, this is my body. Drink of this wine, for this is my blood. All propaganda to the Holy Communion, lacking verisimilitude. Flames danced on candle wicks as my name became defined by ambiguity. My back stiffened and was savagely rode like golden unicorns, taking flight to blue skies, turning me into a telltale story. Wishing myself an urban legend thrown into obscurity, an innocent girl in vestibules. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Beyond the sweet aromatic of incense and silent picture shows, I knelt before a self-prophesized version of your representative, eliciting mediocre talents I ascertain in fulfilling gratifications behind the reredos. He was the incubus of my nightly dreams. Let the atrophy of my body sit upon their tongues. I am a dead man walking. Impurities seep through my pores. Sacrilegious practices turn confessional booths into brothels. Oh, they hid their clerical collars beneath varnished pews. Men of the Holy Order, we were maniacal. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I came in with the eyes of a child, and now I am what I detest. Fire-breathing dragons just don't live in empty castles, exclusively directed in fairy tales. The wizardry of magic is waved and stamped by the approval of the Vatican. I was always told children should be seen and not heard. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Oh, let the onslaught of stones be cast down. Don't save me. I'm an extraterrestrial version of myself, the cyborg of humans, the infamy of loud noises in a busy city. I'm not even a headline, just a speck of a dust molecule. No one can see me, but I exist. I have my own crown of thorns piercing into my temples. Oh, let me go back. Let me go back to slithering through abandoned tenements, being a strumpet walking the docks, or laying on my back beneath bridges, soliciting my services. But Jesus touched the water and the ripples produced the reflection of truth. Oh, I clapped my hands with morning glory. He heard my cry. and a paragon of angels surrounded me, telling me the secrets of salvation. They changed my name. And when mortality ends, I will be covered in white light as my garment, released from my servitude and cut from my crucifix. Oh, I will have come through the valley to walk on mountain tops with lilies at my feet. Dilated pupils will have new sight, brows unfurled, covered in the blood of lambs, and I will fear no evil. Oh, forgive them, Father. Forgive them, Father. Forgive them, for they have sinned.
Awesome. You're ready to shake up the world, aren't you?
Yes, very much so.
I want to thank Pauline Findlay for being my third guest. Really happy that I've met you folks, you and Linda and Wayne, and thank you all for being.
Thank you so much, Pete, for sharing your poetry and having me.
We're storytellers on Orchard Street. This is the third episode, and it starred Pauline Findlay. Congratulations on your great book, and I look forward to more of your book release party. And we'll see you all shortly on the next episode of Storytellers.